Welcome back, friends, to the home of all things ballroom dance. This is our part 3 of an interview with a very experienced ballroom dancer, both socially, performance, competitively, Latin standard, American style, you name it, jack of all trades. Let's continue with that question I just asked, which is, how many teachers have you taken with over the years?
Well, a lot of teachers, if you count the pros that have just come through town and been here for a weekend or something like that, so more than I can count. But I've probably had maybe 5 over 40 years that I've just taken consistent lessons with. And I think that's a good number. You don't want to always have the same teacher for your whole life. You want to have a little bit of variety, but I don't switch around very much. If I find somebody that's good and things don't go well, I can take the blame. It's not the teacher's fault.
And so related to that, no names, but I'd be interested to hear kind of the worst teachers you've taken from, just why that didn't hit the sweet spot for you. And then your favorite teachers, what have they done that's been like, yeah, I'm taking that home. That's making sense to me.
Okay, no names. The worst lesson I've ever had was from probably the best American style dancer this country's ever had. And I just simply I wasn't ready for that kind of information. It was above my head. And so
I gotta interrupt here. We will not discuss this on this video, but I think that was my worst lesson too. We'll discuss later.
I just wasn't ready. And the information was fabulous, but not for me.
And then in terms of the lessons you feel you've learned the most with, how did that happen?
Well, just on the same vein, the teacher that understands what I'm prepared to learn. And if something, a move, a figure is just beyond me, it's a bad lesson if it's taught to me. And so the teacher that can look at me and say, okay, you are ready for this figure or this style or whatever it is, that's a good teacher. And the other thing is the teacher that is secure enough to make the student learn the fundamentals because they're boring. And a lot of students will move on because I only get the box step from this teacher or a change step. And so they get bored and they go, I want more fancy stuff. And the teacher that's strong enough and secure enough to stick to their guns and teach you those basic things is the good teacher in the long run. That was hard to learn, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of teachers don't have that luxury, but once you get fully booked, you can kind of cherry pick. And I definitely cherry pick my students at this point, and teach my favorite ones. And so how many do you take with more than one teacher at one time? Meaning not at the same time, but like one teacher on Sunday, one teacher on Wednesday? Or do you stick with kind of one and then over time say, now I'm going to transition to this?
Well, when I was dancing competitively, at the most serious time, when I was really trying hard, I prefer to only have one teacher. And then occasionally, with the teacher's consent, take from a great pro that's coming through town. I don't like, ballroom dance teachers they don't usually say the same thing. You get conflicting information. It's very frustrating. And so I find if the teacher is good, the teacher is good, and that's good enough for me. And then occasionally filter in a little bit of different opinion and that type of thing. But one good teacher where you really try to get the information and practice it is, to me, the most effective way to do it.
Yeah, and I have shared this, especially when you get to novice, pre-championship, you are going to start getting information that is in addition to the ISTV book. And there are definitely different, I'll call them camps or schools of thought, philosophies where they approach that same figure very different. And at that point, I always encourage people, hey, if you're not sure, test drive some teachers and do the way that works best for you. And I find as teachers, they often tend to just teach the way that worked for them as a couple, but couples are built differently and they have different degrees of flexibility or strength, or maybe they carry their weight or on the top or the bottom. So just because you hear conflicting information, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different ways to achieve the same goal. And at that point, you know, whatever that pro says in the lesson, just march to the beat of that drum, do it their way. And then when you get back to your kind of practice time with your partner, try it both ways and then roll with whatever feels best on you. If you can, take a video of yourself and you'll probably see one distinctly looks better on you too. And I would roll with that style. And so what has been the biggest surprise to you in your, because you've competed, you performed, you've taken in chain studios, independent, what has been the biggest surprise for you in the world of ballroom dance?
I think the biggest surprise is really how physically demanding it is. It is really hard to do, and it makes you really tired to do it. Let me tell you a story. I'm a diabetic, and when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I remember sitting on my doctor's table, and you know, I'm 40 pounds overweight and poor health and haven't done any exercise, and so you feel obligated to say, "Doctor, what's the best form of exercise?" And he goes, "The one you'll do." And this is the one that I'll do. And it's great exercise. I can't believe there aren't, especially more men out exercising. It's way better to me than sitting in a golf course and a golf cart and occasionally taking a stroke. So that's the number one thing. The other thing is that when people think of ballroom dancing, they think of, I can't dance because I have to do this and this and this. But really, what the teachers do is they take away distractions from your lines. They take away movements and get you to just calm down and walk down the floor calmly, because you look better doing that. So that was really shocking to me. It isn't anything that you do, it's just taking away distractions from your movement. So those two things really shocked me.
Yeah, and I think certainly when you learn to dance well, there's more and more of an athletic element. You know, I can tell you when I was competing pro, and I would have like non-dancers look at me and costumes. Wow, how did you get a six-pack? Look at your back muscles. What exercise do you do? I dance? What do you think I'm doing, pump and iron? All I'm doing is dancing, and you really engage almost every part of your body and don't even realize it. Like, I'm exhausted, I'm dripping in sweat, I'm out of breath. Honestly, I don't even notice till the practice or the comp is over, because I'm having so much fun. And I'm so focused on the technique that it's not like for me being on a treadmill or the Stairmaster, like, and at that point I'm just like imagining things in my head. I'm counting down the seconds till it's over. So definitely I love that too. What has been the most rewarding part of your ballroom dance career?
Oh, for sure it's the people that I know. And I want to say that the women from my little clique, my little group, or my generation coming through that I've known for years and years, I find them to be really inspiring. As a group, they're really physically fit, they're happy, they get a chance to dress up and go out on the weekend. And I find that, you know, those are the people that I mix with, and especially the women that I notice with, they just have a positive outlook on life, because it just gives people a reason to dress up, to go out, to be social, to get exercise. And that's a lot of benefits from one activity. And that's been the most rewarding thing for me, for sure.
I just actually saw a study this week at psychiatrist or psychologist publication, and it mentioned the benefits of physical activities in terms of emotional well-being and depression. And there was a list of like 40 different, jogging, bicycling, whatever. And the number one activity on the list was dancing in terms of the positive emotional impact and statistically helping combat depression. I was stunned. I had never seen anything or heard this, and it just happened to stumble across it on a ballroom dance kind of chat room I'm in, and they shared the publication and a link and such. If I can find that, I'll post a link to that in the description. This was a while ago, so I'm gonna try and find that thing. And so do you have advice for dancers who are new to ballroom dancing, who are maybe getting started in a competitive ballroom dance career?
Well, I'll share with you some advice that the best partner that I ever had gave to me, Victoria. And it really pertains to social dancing more than competitive, but I think it cuts across everything. That rules for the lead, social dancing. 1, put your partner on balance 100% of the time. Number 2, don't do moves that you don't know how to do. You can practice things when it's appropriate to practice things, but when you're on the floor and everybody's looking, don't do that fancy dip that you saw on videotape or something like that. And number 3, try as hard as you can to stay with the beat. It's really hard to stay with the music. It's really, really hard, but try as hard as you can to do that. And this is kind of funny, but I think it's true. This was the 4th one, and this really paid dividends for me. She said, if you're going to play the sexual card in your dancing, you better have the goods to back it up, or you're gonna look mighty silly. And so I don't have the goods. So from then on, I just try as hard as I can. I stand up as straight as I can, and I try to stay on the beat. And that has served me well over the years.
Oh my God, I think as a lady, I would appreciate that for sure. I don't want to be creeped out. I'm not there to be, it's not a bar, it's a ballroom dance. I just want to dance and have fun. I totally think Kelly's onto something here too. Even if someone, has taken one dance class, as long as they do steps on the beat, I can follow that pretty well and easily and help make it look pretty. So great advice. And then my final question for you. Do you have any kind of long-term goals in your ballroom dance life? And if so, what?
Well, that's a good question. I want to extend my dancing in my life as long as I can, but I broke my foot about a year prior to COVID, and then of course everything was shut down during COVID. And I'll just tell you, it's use it or lose it. And I started dancing again. My partner called me up, said, hey, let's go practice. And, it was really, really hard. So for me to stay active, I have to sometimes, the hardest thing is getting off the couch and going. But that's the key for me, to staying on the floor for a long, long time. Use it or lose it. And that's really, really something important for me to do. But I just want to stay out as long as I can.
Love it. Okay, guys, Kelly is a rock star. And before I close out, I just want to say hats off to Kelly. He is one of the people that was very, very inspirational to me when I first started out dancing, because I had been in a teensy-weensy, very social studio where everyone just kind of trudged around the floor, and was really one of the first more pleasing to look at accomplished dancers that really inspired me to start competing. So thank you. You really, without Kelly, I might not be here. So guys, thanks for joining us. If you missed, I will post links in the description to the part 2 of this. And if you missed part 1, I have a link to that in the part 2 video. But Thanks so much for sharing your
Sure.
story and advice, sage wisdom with us today, guys. Thanks for joining us. And if you like all things ballroom dance, hey, subscribe. We share different sorts of stuff every day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have an awesome day. Happy dancing, guys.